We've got news on the relaunch of Harbinger, and it is coming from Valiant and taking a different spin on things. So before we get to that news, also want to go through kind of the history of the title, the character, a little bit what has happened and what's coming up, and kind of put it all in perspective. Hey everybody, this is Perch. Talking about Harbinger, it's got some news today because it's basically Valiant is reviving it for a brand new ongoing series. Valiant's been kind of quiet during the pandemic. They've been kind of, I think, restructuring and getting some new creators and some new people on board. They obviously have a lot of different management people in there, really trying to make a go of it, and using kind of your standard source for when you want to be more legitimate, using the Hollywood Reporter. I don't know why a lot of comic companies are now using Hollywood Reporter, particularly the indies, to get stuff out. When they don't want to be attached to CBR or Bleeding Cool, so they'll put it out there. At any rate, and then those sites then copy the text over, and it's it's the circle of life. At any rate, Harbinger was originally came out in 1992, and this was when Jim Shooter had moved over and was editor in chief and writing for Valiant. David Lapham was going there, and Valiant was one of those cases where they spent a lot of the right marketing money. They got some initial press. They never really burst through and became the new Marvel, the new DC, and then Image was taking a lot of the oxygen from the room at the time. But they did get some properties over with acclaim, and they basically were pushing a gaming connection quite heavily. So Harbinger is basically kind of, I don't know. There's a lot of terrible analogies for what Harbinger was. It was basically it was a group of kind of superhero outcasts, and they have powers. Well, obviously they're superheroes, but then they do things. A lot of people have compared it to the X-Men. I think that's a terrible comparison, but I guess there's a little bit. But they're basically. The Harbinger has, you have different classes. You have Omega Harbingers. You have others, and you basically, they've got all the different powers. And then the world is a dark and crappy place, and so they're going to come in and kind of try and fix it. And so there's evil ones that they get all rich, and then they're going to take over to save the world from itself, and then there's others who are trying to fight against kind of this totalitarian kind of. And so it's a standard comic book. Again, I am doing a very terrible job of explaining kind of what it is, and it's been rebooted several times, and it was rebooted to try and make it tie in a little bit more to video games but it was one of their top titles. So for what it's worth, it was a good book. I mean, it was never completely for me. I would say it was never really the title I enjoyed. I think that Valiant had a lot of other things that were better. It always felt like it was kind of trying to be a number of other comics, if that makes any sense. It was always trying to kind of take its nods from a lot of other things, and I think that some of the other stuff, I think Bloodshot and there's just a bunch of other titles that I thought were a little stronger than it did. But I know a lot of people who absolutely love Harbinger, and that's their, that is kind of the. It was one of the flagship titles that they did. So what do we have with the news today? Well, the title is getting revamped. It's going to be a new ongoing series. It is written by Jackson Lanzing, co-writing with Collin Kelly, with art by Robbi Rodriguez of Spider-Gwen and Pictures of His Butt fame. And they are basically going to, they're bringing it back forward. Peter Stanchek is back, but there's a little bit of a twist on it. It's going to much more heavily delve into politics, diversity in its cast, and tell kind of a character deconstruction and social analysis, and that they're going to kind of lean into what it means to have powers, what it means to be privileged, and help the marginalized and the underrepresented, and how it all goes. Peter has made deep mistakes, kind of. So what's a little bit confusing here is that it is an ongoing series. It is called a new chapter. It's not called a reboot. So it's, in theory, all of the past still applies here, but it looks like they're tweaking it a little bit. But they're definitely, it's going to be doing a lot of commentary on social justice and on kind of reflection of what it means to have powers and what it means to use those powers, so that's what it is. It's the trick is where, and they're very excited about this because the belief is that, the current world environment is, really fits this kind of story, that it really, more than anything, we need, this type of story, because there's so much in the news going on where all this stuff's concerned. So will it successfully tie to those things, or will it feel like a cheap cash grab? I mean, who knows? But at any rate, this is promised to be the first of many comics for the original 90s line. I think we've at least seen some indication of Shadow Man and Ninjak. So I mean, I think we'll certainly get, are going to get more. We're promised to get a lot more. And so this is kind of the start, but a new focus, a new ambition, really kind of pushing more, rip from the current headlines of, there's people who need help, and we're gonna dive into that. So I mean, a hero story. We'll see how it all works out. It is, like I said, they are saying this is going to tie into past comics, to past line, but it is going to take a new spin on things. As they say, the character has become iconic because we can see the best and the worst of ourselves in Peter Stanchek. It's time to take another hard look at that person in the mirror so we can discover the hero on the other side. So anyway, there you have it. So you're seeing some art, basically some sneak peeks of Rodriguez's art from the comic, and definitely it fits the personality types. Rodriguez is very, very active on social media around a lot of social topics and other things, and so it's you line up a project with the personalities. It's nothing in theory wrong with that, but we will see. But I mean, it begs a bigger question. So I think that Valiant is one of those things that it's a company that never quite got where it needed to get. There's a lot of, and I think there's a whole video on Valiant and kind of what went on there, but it's a company that always had a lot of ideas, a lot of properties, and kind of was always established as this core comic company, but it always seemed kind of stuck. It never really burst through to become kind of at the top of where it needed to be or where it wanted to be as a company. They had a really big cast. They had a ton of comics. I mean, there's I think well over 1,000 Valiant comics that have been published and produced, but it always felt like it was hitting up against a bit of a glass ceiling, where it never quite burst through and became everything that it wanted to be. Definitely it has its fans, although the company has also changed itself several times, where it's become different from what it was, and it is I don't know, it's lost people along the way. It also seems to get enamored with a character. Like it went through the whole world where Faith was kind of the character they really wanted to build around for a while, and then they did, and then that kind of just vanished, and then Bloodshot was there. There's just been some different attempts over the years, and it always feels like they're searching for that answer and not finding it. So maybe the answer is in this reboot. It seems like, at least from the different interviews we've heard, that Valiant is going to be much more trying to tap into that rip from the headlines kind of feel, that kind of grounded. This is the comic that is going to reflect social events and current events. Is that what you want from your Valiant? So let me know in the comments below if you like this news, if you have fond memories to the Valiant, if you'd like to hear more. Let me know, and we'll be happy to go into it. Otherwise, like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. But most importantly, thanks for listening.